This stunningly beautiful woman before us is known as the Empire's most noble and fortunate lady. Yet her marriage is decided by a single careless sentence. Upon hearing the news of her engagement, she breaks down completely. She can only kneel and beg her loving father to save her life. However, her usually kind-faced father now seems like a completely different person. Even knowing full well his daughter is marrying into the enemy territory, he still insists she obey his orders and dutifully enter this political marriage. And he warns her, if she doesn't comply, death is her only option. Everyone knew that princes of the Gacador royal family who couldn't become the next emperor never lived long. Therefore, noble ladies who married the unfavored seventh prince were destined for miserable lives. Thinking of this, Ariana becomes even more desperate, but no matter how she begs or pleads, all she receives are scoldings and orders from her father, Dimitri Rozana. In the end, helpless, she can only quietly await her tragic fate. The wedding day arrives quickly, with nationwide celebrations. The seventh prince of the enemy nation leads his procession to marry Ariana. At the wedding, everything appears so beautiful on the surface. Only Ariana, accompanied by her bridesmaids, knows the truth. She's about to step into her own personal hell. She anxiously looks toward her future husband, destined to die young. But she sees him turn around gracefully. Gazing at her affectionately, he says gently, "Your tears are as precious as jewels. I, Marcellus Gacador, have fallen in love with you at first sight, unexpectedly." What she thought would be hell becomes the beginning of a romance between Ariana and Marcellus. Though Ariana is forced to marry into the enemy nation, the love her husband Marcellus gives her makes her unable to resist falling deeply. The two spend a brief period of happiness together, until the powerless seventh prince Marcellus gets drawn into the struggle for the throne. Everything changes completely. With encouragement from his ministers, and assistance from the saintess, Marcellus finally refuses to remain beneath others, unwilling to simply await death. Ariana is no longer the only one in his eyes. Instead, a desire for supreme power ignites within him. He refuses to continue being the ignored seventh prince. Finally, one day, he confesses to Ariana, "Leah, I want to become emperor." Ariana knows full well this ambition could lead to their destruction, but she loves him too much and decides to help him. So she mobilizes the vast wealth of her family, the House of Rosanna, and everything she possesses, giving her all to support him, ultimately helping Marcellus ascend to the supreme imperial throne, just when she thinks she'll naturally become empress. The ministers who originally supported them use her status as a lady from the enemy nation Biontech as an excuse, declaring she's unworthy of becoming empress of the Gacador Empire. They absolutely cannot allow the empire's future crown prince to carry enemy blood. So Marcellus comes to her chambers and asks Ariana if she wants to become empress. Ariana feels utterly confused, not understanding why he asks this, but still answers honestly, "Yes, I do." But Marcellus asks back, "Why?" This question makes Ariana feel as if he's become a different person. She responds emotionally, "Because I love you. How can you treat me as a mistress instead of a partner?" Marcellus tries to persuade her, "Leah, an imperial consort isn't a mistress." Ariana still insists, but she's not a legitimate wife either. "If you insist on this, then send me away." Marcellus didn't expect such a strong reaction and is about to continue explaining. But Ariana interrupts him sadly. "Your Highness Marcellus, do you no longer love me?" Looking at her sorrowful expression, Marcellus quickly pulls her into his embrace and comforts her. "How could that be? I will only love you forever." In the end, Ariana stands firm and successfully becomes Empress of Gacador. However, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So when Marcellus tells her he must break his vow not to take concubines to consolidate his throne, and is about to marry Grand Duchess Fienne as an imperial consort, as Empress, she can only helplessly agree. But as time passes, Marcellus takes concubines more and more frequently, and doesn't even seek her opinion like he used to. Thus, the romance between Ariana and Marcellus gradually comes to an end. After this, the two rarely see each other. The occasional times they do meet always begin with Marcellus's angry questioning. He scolds Ariana for punishing the third imperial consort, even though the fault lies with the third imperial consort who disrespected her first. Marcellus still blames everything on her, leaving only the words, "I'm so disappointed in you," before turning and leaving, never to return again. When other noble ladies at the tea party learn of all this, instead of comforting her, they criticize her for daring to defy the emperor. They teach her to learn how to attract his majesty, and that once she bears a prince, all problems will be solved. Ariana is deeply resistant after hearing this. How can an empress do such demeaning things? But the noble ladies continue to advise that she must bear a prince, otherwise she won't even be able to protect herself in the end. Finally, Ariana's proud dignity is shattered by cruel reality. However, when all this actually happens, she still cannot accept being treated this way as empress. Marcellus uses every vulgar word to humiliate her, even treating her like a mistress, completely trampling her dignity underfoot, showing no trace of the man who once cherished her. Ariana finally can't endure it anymore and uses all her strength to push him away. This action immediately angers Marcellus, who hasn't had his fill. With a sharp slap, a resounding blow lands on her face. Ariana falls into deep despair, never imagining Marcellus would degrade her so. She hears him gripping her tightly, saying almost madly, "Leah, even if I don't love you anymore, you must continue to love me. It's because of me that you sit in the Empress's position." Ariana cries once again, and at this moment she finally understands that she's been in hell all along, foolishly thinking she had once encountered true love. From that moment on, there's no such thing as love in her world, only the thought of surviving and the obsession to conceive a child. One night, Felint Haward of the Biontech Empire quietly immediately comes to Ariana's chambers seeking an audience. Facing this visitor who seems to have ill intentions, Ariana asks directly, "Are you here to execute me just because I refuse to use my position as empress to help House Rosanna?" But Felint respectfully replies, "I've been ordered to escort your majesty the empress back home." What? This unexpected answer catches Ariana off guard. She hears him continue, "As long as you take my hand, I can bring you back to your homeland for a peaceful life." These words move Ariana deeply, and just as she's hesitating whether to agree, she hears him say this is Damien Rosanna's instruction. These words instantly extinguish the hope that just ignited in Ariana. She angrily throws the cup beside her at Felint and says sternly, "How dare you? You dare to mock me? That despicable man definitely wants to use me to attack the Gakador Empire." Struck by the cup, Felint shows no sign of anger. He looks at Ariana firmly and promises, "I swear I will protect your safety with my life." Then he bows respectfully and says, "Please consider carefully. In 3 days, I will await your answer in the palace greenhouse." Watching Felint's departing figure, Ariana is filled with doubt. He's both Crown Prince Helios's friend and bodyguard, as well as a great general of the Biontech Empire. Even though his complex background cost him the position of imperial grandson, he shouldn't be taking orders from his twin brother Damien. These two are clearly not on the same level. All of this is highly suspicious, and Felint's various promises aren't enough to make Ariana trust him. After all, promises have long held no value in Ariana's heart. 3 days later, in the Empress's palace greenhouse, Felint waits here for Ariana as promised, but what he ultimately receives is the message that Ariana refuses to go with him. The messenger finishes speaking and hands over an item, regional identity passes that can help them leave the Gakador Empire smoothly. When delivering the box, the messenger also conveys Ariana's message. "I'm already trapped in hell and cannot save myself. Thank you for your kindness. Please return and reclaim everything that belongs to you and become emperor." With that, the messenger disappears into the night. The next morning in the Empress's chambers, the imperial physician performs the daily examination for Ariana and finally diagnoses a pregnancy. Just when she thinks she can use this to preserve her position as empress and her life, misfortune strikes again. Ariana fails to keep the child. Upon learning this news, she's heartbroken and faints on the spot because the lifeline that supported her will to live no longer exists. The ministers, learning of Ariana's miscarriage, once again propose at court to depose her from the empress position, and this time, Marcellus begins to waver. In the empress's chambers, the other imperial consorts all urge Ariana to abdicate voluntarily, but if even the empress position no longer exists, what does she have left? The consorts remind her, losing the empress position, she'll at least still have her powerful family to rely on. His Majesty the Emperor will at least spare her life. But Ariana ultimately doesn't accept their advice, because this is her last remaining dignity. Until one day, a maid brings terrible news. After the new emperor of the Biontech Empire, Felint Haward, ascends the throne, he orders the extermination of the entire Rosanna ducal family, sparing neither direct nor collateral lines. The maid worries anxiously. If Felint comes to harm Her Majesty the Empress now, what can be done? The successive disasters leave Ariana physically and mentally exhausted. At this moment, she only wants to quietly await fate's judgment as before, whether it's fate's final mercy or something else. Marcellus treats Ariana gently again like before, just like during their honeymoon period. He gently invites her to share fragrant tea. Only this cup of tea is no longer what it once was. The tea is poisoned. "You should feel honored to die as Empress of Gakador," Marcellus says coldly. These words pierce Ariana's heart like a knife. She hears him continue, "I've always despised your ambition to insist on becoming Empress back then. Now you can't even keep one child. Your current fate is entirely your own doing." Thus, in endless sorrow and resentment, Ariana ends her difficult and absurd life. She doesn't know where exactly she went wrong. If she had held on to that person back then, would her fate have been different? How she wishes everything could start over. And so, when the first ray of morning sunlight shines into the room, Ariana opens her eyes once more. She discovers she's returned to the spring of her 21st year. In a church in the Biontech Empire, Ariana, who's praying, is interrupted by several noble ladies. She hears them incessantly, asking why she refused the proposal and whether she plans to devote herself to the temple. Ariana doesn't answer, only gently adjusts her veil and continues her devout prayers. Everyone envies her life of freedom and ease as someone born into the Rosanna ducal family, even able to decide her own marriage. But only Ariana herself knows. Her entire life has always been firmly controlled by that terrible father. Her father publicly claims he'll give her a happy life filled with beautiful clothes and jewelry, but in reality molds her into a rigid traditional noble lady. On the surface, he promises her the highest level of education, but actually only orders her to master basic ladylike refinement. In her youth, she even foolishly thought all this stemmed from her father's deep love. She still remembers her childhood tutor testing her. She couldn't answer a single question. Upon learning this, her father severely punished her with a whip that very night, simply because she failed to pass the test and brought shame to House Rosanna. Afterward, her father warned her she must remember this pain, and if she makes mistakes again, she'll suffer it once more. Before leaving, he doesn't forget to manipulate her with words. "Remember, Ariana, I never punish you lightly. You are my daughter. Everything I do is for your own good." Only at this moment does Ariana realize all of this is wrong, completely wrong. Since God has granted her a second chance at life, this time she must correct all the mistakes. She will never repeat that tragic and unfortunate path. At a noble banquet after her rebirth, Ariana and her father attend elegantly dressed as usual. Seeing such a beautiful and elegant Ariana, the guests can't help but whisper among themselves. After all, Lady Ariana Rosanna has become the famous untouchable beauty of Biontech high society. One young lady asks in confusion, "I remember Lady Ariana is already over 20, right? Why hasn't she married yet?" Someone in the know beside her answers, "The Duke loves his daughter dearly, and even when the Crown Prince proposed, he couldn't bear to marry her off." These words secretly irritate several ladies who were once close to Ariana. In their view, this so-called untouchable beauty is just a crybaby princess. How could such a weak person be worthy of the noble Crown Prince? Seeing Ariana become the topic of discussion, Liliana steps forward pretentiously. "Please don't say such things. Leah was just spoiled since childhood. However, is she the only one attracting attention?" Not far away, three gentlemen are discussing how Ariana openly expelled Lady Shaylin from a tea party a few days ago. Such behavior hardly matches the fragile Ariana Liliana described. Others begin to feel confused. Wasn't she a weak lady who remained silent even when her wine was poisoned? How did she suddenly become like a different person? Listening to the endless discussions and speculations around her, Ariana simply sips her wine quietly on the side, thinking to herself, such a small matter can stir up so many days of discussion in high society. Looking back now, her former self was truly foolish, thinking everyone gossiped out of concern. While lost in thought, Liliana approaches with a group of young ladies. "Leah, why are you here alone?" Liliana was Ariana's self-proclaimed best friend in her past life. Due to their father's friendship, they've known each other since childhood. She always stood up for Ariana in difficult situations on the surface, but repeatedly stabbed her in the back. Now it seems this friendship was utterly false. She always only saw Ariana as entertainment for amusement. She asks with feigned concern, "Leah, is that incident true?" "What incident?" Ariana responds coldly. Liliana persists about you expelling Lady Shaylin from the tea party. Hearing this, Ariana immediately feigns innocence. "That's too harsh. How was she expelled?" Lady Shaylin simply claimed she wasn't feeling well, so Miss Persidan asked her to leave and rest, not getting the answer she wanted. Liliana is unwilling to give up, so she tries to lead her. "Leah, we're best friends. You can tell me the truth." Ariana doesn't want to watch her act anymore and interrupts directly. "There's no need, Lily. Didn't you say you were already tired of being my friend?" Liliana immediately defends herself in panic. "Leah, you must have misunderstood. I never said such things." Ariana ignores her and continues with feigned grievance. "Didn't you say I'm too weak, always crying? No wonder I can't get married at this age." Hearing Ariana repeat what she had said about her behind her back, Liliana rushes forward to stop her. "Leah, no matter what Lady Shaylin told you, she clearly said she dislikes you. How can you not trust me, your good friend, and instead believe that country bumpkin?" Ariana gently withdraws her hand that was grabbed and responds calmly, "I think the one who truly dislikes me is you. A simple apology would do, yet you insist on embarrassing me here. As long as you sincerely apologize, I can still be your kind and gentle good friend." Hearing this, Liliana clenches her skirt, too ashamed to respond. Ariana ignores her embarrassment and continues, "I'll keep waiting for your apology." As she passes Liliana and is about to leave, she suddenly stops and advises, "By the way, Lily, as a friend, I suggest you distance yourself from these ladies who don't understand etiquette, lest they damage your reputation. After all, they don't even know how to greet a lady." Liliana becomes even more furious after hearing this, feeling that Ariana has completely exposed her today. And this is only the beginning of Ariana correcting all her mistakes. She's determined, from now on, her life will never be controlled by anyone. Ariana leaves the banquet hall and comes to the corridor, reflecting on everything that just happened. But this is far from enough to ease the pain she endured in her past life. She must become even stronger to truly control her own life. Then she asks a maid about the location of the very important person lounge, wanting to find a quiet corner to rest briefly. Under the maid's respectful guidance, she arrives at the lounge door. Just as she pushes the door open to enter, she discovers someone is already inside, none other than Northern Grand Duke Felint Haward and Crown Prince Helios Biontech. Ariana immediately bows respectfully. Ariana of House Rosanna greets His Highness the Crown Prince, facing the bowing Ariana. Crown Prince Helios deliberately remains silent without letting her rise. The very important person lounge falls silent, and Ariana can only maintain her bowing position. At this moment, Felint speaks up to remind him, "Your Highness, the lady is still bowing." Only then does Helios come to his senses, and quickly asks Ariana to rise. Felint looks at Ariana as she straightens and says, "I apologize on behalf of His Highness. If you're here to rest, we'll leave immediately." Hearing this, Ariana bows slightly and responds, "No need to trouble yourselves. I apologize for disturbing His Highness's valuable time. I'll take my leave first." Seeing Ariana preparing to leave, Helios quickly stands up wanting to keep her. But before he can finish speaking, Ariana has already turned and left, disappearing at the very important person lounge entrance. Looking at Ariana, whose behavior is so different from before, Helios says thoughtfully to Felint, "It seems the rumors of her change are true. What do you think, Felint?" However, when he turns his head, he discovers Felint beside him has long since vanished. Ariana stands alone in the corridor, calmly recalling Crown Prince Helios Biontech, whom she just saw. He's the Emperor's son born in his old age, the beloved and only heir to the empire. However, this noble crown prince, was reported dead in the Gakador Empire 7 years ago, in her past life. Emperor Leopold was devastated and declared war on the Gakador Empire. The war lasted 3 full years, and relations between the two nations became irreconcilable. During this time, Duke Rosanna proactively found an illegitimate son for Emperor Leopold to fill the heir vacancy. Unexpectedly, 3 years later, the crown prince declared dead returned victorious from war. Returning with him was his cousin Felint, who had been taken hostage by the Gakador Empire. Although the illegitimate son was expelled from the palace, the Rosanna family still suffered his displaced anger. Helios simply didn't dare show displeasure toward his father, so he vented his anger on her. While she's lost in thought, Felint calls out to her from behind. He says apologetically, "His Highness the Crown Prince was too willful just now. Please forgive him." Ariana responds, "You stopped me, surely not just to say this." Felint slowly presents the hair ornament Ariana left behind. Ariana touches her hair and discovers something is indeed missing, then asks, "You don't think I deliberately left the ornament, do you?" "I know you're not that kind of person," Felint replies. Ariana says frankly, "Indeed, thank you for your trust. However, since it's already damaged, I don't intend to keep this ornament. Please feel free to throw it in any trash can. No need to return it to my residence. If you know my father, you'll naturally understand why I say this." Felint looks at her unquestionable expression, hesitates, but ultimately can only reply, "I understand." And so, Felint holds Ariana's hair ornament, watching her gradually departing figure, in the very important person lounge. After learning what just happened in the corridor, Helios says, "I didn't expect you'd fall for such a classic trick." Felint looks at the ornament in his hand and replies, "She didn't do it deliberately, and I only wanted to return it to her, but she refused." Helios thinks for a moment and advises, "You'd better not send the ornament to the Rosanna residence." Then he slumps in his chair and continues, "I don't want Duke Rosanna to use you to elevate his daughter, because this is really an age-old trick. If ladies use dropping things in front of men they admire to show their feelings, then gentlemen use returning ladies' lost items to express their affection, and Ariana has already been labeled as the woman who rejected the crown prince. If Felint shows up at her door to return the ornament, Duke Rosanna will widely proclaim that Grand Duke Haward is also trying to court his daughter." At this point, Helios says excitedly, "In that case, wouldn't it make it look like I really was rejected?" After hearing Helios's explanation, Felint finally understands. So Ariana's request not to send the ornament to her home had this thoughtful intention. He looks at the ornament in his hand, nods and says, "All right," then starts thinking of other ways. On the other side, Ariana comes to the banquet hall. Her father says with feigned concern, "Leah, you look a bit tired. Go home and rest first." After Ariana respectfully agrees, she leaves the banquet hall under the knight's escort and arrives at the carriage. Ariana has long seen through her father's pretense. He's simply worried about her causing trouble late at night and rushes to send her home. At this moment, the knight beside her asks rudely, "Miss, I heard you had a conflict with Lady Sandesh today? This person is so rude because he's her father's spy." Facing the knight who clearly doesn't respect her, Ariana responds in kind, "Do I need to answer you?" The knight who was rebuked immediately becomes indignant. He didn't expect the formerly weak lady to know how to fight back, but he's not easy to deal with either. So he crosses the line and follows Ariana into the carriage, openly sitting across from her, looking at her provocatively. Ariana didn't expect the knight to be this audacious. How did she ever tolerate this before? So she orders sternly, "Knight, get out of the carriage immediately." But the knight still says brazenly, "I have a duty to protect you, miss, from danger." Ariana asks back, "What danger could there be in the capital?" The knight answers arrogantly, "Because we'll pass through the slums on the way." Ariana immediately seizes on the flaw in his words and responds calmly, "By that logic, shouldn't you be guarding outside the carriage? What if the poor throw stones at the carriage?" The knight is left speechless by Ariana's words, and can only angrily get out of the carriage. Watching the knight leave, Ariana breathes a sigh of relief. Finally, the one monitoring her is gone. At this moment, she's very clear that to avoid repeating her past life's mistakes, she must do something. That is, absolutely not marry into Gakador to become an imperial consort. Therefore, she must first get rid of the spies her father planted around her, and the first person she needs to get rid of is her nanny, the one she once confided in most, yet also the one who hurt her the deepest. After the carriage arrives at the Rosanna residence, Ariana finishes washing up and sits in her room, being attended by maids who comb her hair. She quietly gazes at herself in the mirror, thinking she should reduce the number of tea parties or banquets she attends recently. Being too conspicuous isn't appropriate. Fortunately, Grand Duke Haward didn't send the ornament to the Rosanna residence today, since her father plans to marry her off to Gakador. If rumors spread about her with other men, it will surely enrage him. Nevertheless, she still deliberately left the ornament to create an encounter with him. She remembers that in her past life, Felint promised to give her a stable life. Perhaps in this life, as long as she firmly holds his hand, she won't repeat her past life's tragedy, and can live a peaceful and stable life. Suddenly, the maid combing her hair deliberately yanks her hair hard, and asks hypocritically, "Oh my, miss, did I hurt you?" Ariana rubs her sore scalp and replies, "Stop combing." But the maid ignores her order and replies, "Yes, I'll be careful," and continues combing. Seeing the maid disrespect her so, Ariana directly knocks the comb from the maid's hand to the floor, and says, "I don't need a maid who doesn't obey her mistress's orders. Get out." The maid is stunned, never imagining the usually weak and meek lady would treat her this way, and hastily tries to defend herself. But before she can speak, Ariana orders the others. What are you standing there for? Drag her out! Hearing this, the maids exchange bewildered glances, and no one moves. At this moment, the nanny hears the commotion and enters from outside, asking, "Why is our little angel so angry?" Ariana doesn't respond to her words, only pointing at the maid from earlier and saying, "Make her leave my room immediately." The nanny ignores her order and picks up the comb from the floor herself, replying, "I see, it seems the child combing hair made a mistake." Then she orders the maid to apologize to Ariana, and presumptuously forgives her on Ariana's behalf. This action completely infuriates Ariana, and she asks coldly, "Do you not understand what I'm saying?" However, the nanny remains unmoved. Ariana turns to face the maids and asks, "Who is your master?" At this moment, the nanny finally speaks up. "Miss, the maid's master is Duke Rosanna." Ariana asks back, "Nanny, what do you mean by that?" She continues relentlessly, "I'm merely stating facts." Ariana refuses to deal with her any longer and turns around. She points at a maid and commands, "Go fetch the head butler right now." But the maid doesn't dare follow her orders and hurriedly looks toward the nanny. The nanny stares at her with sharp eyes, signaling her not to go. The maid closes her eyes tightly in fear. She stands frozen in place, not daring to move. Seeing this, Ariana sighs. She says sarcastically, "I had no idea the nanny went from servant to master. I suppose I'll have to fetch the head butler myself." With that, she walks toward the door. Just as she reaches the door, someone blocks her way. The person insists, "The head butler is busy right now, you shouldn't." Before finishing the sentence, Ariana grabs the vase nearby. She smashes it hard against the floor. She says sternly, "I have no patience to repeat myself a second time. Get the head butler here, immediately. Understood?" After the head butler arrives, these maids are quickly dismissed by Ariana. At this moment, the nanny can no longer sit still and hurries to intervene. After all, these maids are her subordinates. But Ariana doesn't give her the chance, immediately asking, "Does the nanny still want to make decisions for me?" At this point, head maid Mira also speaks up. "Nanny, please know your place and don't overstep too much." Head butler Nathan immediately adds, "Yes, the only master here is the young Miss." Hearing this, Ariana instructs Mira, the nanny has defied me repeatedly. Dismiss her as well. Don't assign such ungrateful maids in the future." Just like that, the nanny is suspended indefinitely for the offense of not knowing who the master is. But Ariana knows in her heart that she'll soon return with some excuse, since she's father's confidant. Therefore, she must find a way to get rid of her completely before she returns. However, rather than thinking about this, there's another uninvited guest waiting to be dealt with, someone who has blatantly entered her room. Isabella greets her casually. "Hello, sister." Ariana looks at her brazen appearance and questions, "Barging into my room like this, is that your idea of manners?" Isabella bursts into laughter. "Sister, you really sound like mother now." She continues arrogantly, "I merely hit one of your maids, you don't mind, do you? If you're unhappy, you can hit my maid back, right?" Then she adds sarcastically, "Though, I suppose my kind sister couldn't bring herself to do it?" Ariana doesn't want to beat around the bush with her and simply says, "Cut the nonsense and sit down first." A maid brings tea for the two of them. Watching Ariana's extremely elegant manner of pouring tea, Isabella speaks mockingly, "Ariana, you're so skilled at pouring tea, as if it's the only thing you've ever focused on learning." Ariana immediately retorts, "As if you're any different." Isabella smiles at this. "Father doesn't have so many expectations of me, you know, right? I'm about to make my debut in society." Ariana senses the hidden meaning in her words and puts down her teacup. She says directly, "We're sisters. Feel free to speak plainly." Isabella gets straight to the point. "I heard you suspended Nanny Pamela? I was quite surprised when I learned it was your decision." Ariana expects her to plead for Pamela like father would. Unexpectedly, she says, "Well done. That wretched old hag staying by your side would be trouble sooner or later." Then she proactively suggests, "Do you need me to help you get rid of her completely?" Ariana politely declines. "Have you forgotten? Pamela has already been sent away." But Isabella laughs. "Ariana, you're too naive. With just one word from father, she can return any time." Ariana doesn't expect that Isabella also knows that Nanny Pamela, whom she trusted in her previous life, was actually father's confidant placed by her side to monitor her. So from beginning to end, she was the only one kept in the dark. So she stops hiding and asks directly, "All right, how do you plan to help me?" Isabella says, "I can help you deal with Pamela, but you need to help me get rid of Marquise Aubrey at tomorrow's palace banquet." Ariana asks in confusion, "Isn't he your fiancé? Why do you want me to kill him?" Isabella quickly corrects, "No, I don't mean kill him. I want you to find a way to make him not propose to me." Hearing this, Ariana directly refuses. Seeing this, Isabella hurries to plead, "Ariana, I really don't want to marry him. Please help me. You just need to dance one dance with him. I'll arrange the rest." Hearing her plead so earnestly, Ariana softens and agrees. So Ariana keeps her promise and comes to the palace banquet. Today she wears a white gown with purple accessories at her neck and ears as the finishing touch, making her exceptionally radiant. She draws frequent glances from the gentlemen around her. At this moment, Ariana wonders, will Marquise Aubrey really propose to her just because of one dance? Are there really such impulsive people in the world? As it turns out, there are. Marquise Aubrey becomes completely captivated the moment he sees the beautiful Ariana. He can hardly wait to propose to her. Ariana originally considers that if the situation position is suitable, perhaps she could marry him. But seeing how foolish he is, she immediately dismisses this thought. So she stops overthinking and just focuses on dancing, wanting only to complete the task quickly. However, as she dances gracefully, she doesn't notice that Felint Haward is watching her dance with someone else. At the same time, Ariana's elegant and proper dance movements also attract the attention of other gentlemen, stunning them. Everyone speculates that Ariana's attendance at the palace banquet this time, dancing with men, might be her way of selecting potential groom candidates. So they compete to approach her and invite her to dance. Thus, Ariana finds it difficult to decline and cannot easily get away. When she returns to the Rosanna Duchy, the night is already deep. However, as soon as she enters her room, she discovers that Nanny Pamela has been waiting inside for quite some time. Ariana looks at her and says, "I didn't expect father to bring you back so soon." Pamela shows an almost twisted, triumphant expression. "Yes, from now on I won't leave your side for a moment, miss." She helps Ariana wash up as usual. While looking at Ariana's newly grown pink hair roots, she says, "Miss, your hair has grown quite a bit. If anyone discovers this pink color, everyone will question your background." Hearing this, Ariana falls into thought. She recalls that in her previous life, she once asked Nanny about her hair color, why her hair color was different from others. At that time, Nanny lied to her, saying it was because she had an illness. It wasn't until she became the Empress of Gakador that a letter revealed the truth. The letter demanded she return the magical artifact that could change hair color. It was a relic of the late Duchess, and Ariana Gakador, as an illegitimate daughter, had no right to possess it. At that time, when she read the letter, she thought it was her twin brother Damien's way of intimidating her. She ordered the letter burned and paid it no more attention. However, that letter was kept by someone with ulterior motives and made public. Her childhood memories were thus awakened. She remembers when she was first aware. The pair of earrings that had accompanied her growing up were removed by Pamela. After that, her pink hair was revealed. At that time, Pamela used the excuse of keeping the earrings safe and helping her dye her hair to confiscate the earrings. It turns out her pink hair color wasn't an illness, but proof of her identity as an illegitimate daughter. If that's the case, what reason does she have to continue sitting in the Empress's position? In the end, under the minister's harsh accusations and Marcellus's contemptuous gaze, her position as Empress was ultimately abolished. As Ariana recalls this intently, Pamela interrupts her thoughts. "Miss, the dyeing is done." Hearing this, Ariana touches her hair and says sarcastically, "After you retire, you could start a hair dyeing business." Pamela responds with a smile. "I will stay by your side forever, miss. Now let me help you retire for the night." After everything is arranged, Pamela prepares to leave. Hearing the sound of the door closing, Ariana immediately opens her eyes. She thinks to herself, this person is truly hard to get rid of. Then, she gets out of bed. She walks to the window and quietly ponders. That magical artifact is the root of everything. As long as she finds it, her identity as an illegitimate daughter won't be exposed, and things can still be salvaged. But where would Pamela hide the magical artifact? However, the most urgent matter at hand is to get rid of Pamela first. Therefore, she must meet with Isabella tomorrow to discuss how to proceed with the next step of the plan. Early the next morning, Ariana comes to Isabella's room. Seeing her, Isabella immediately greets her warmly. "Welcome. This is your first time in my room." Looking at the luxurious decorations in Isabella's room, Ariana can't help but sigh inwardly. Compared to her own room, the difference is like heaven and earth. She then sits down and instructs those around. "I have urgent matters to discuss. Please leave." Isabella also tells her maid Emily, "Make sure no one comes near, especially Pamela." Emily responds and goes out to stand guard. After everyone else leaves, Isabella says happily, "Thanks to you, sister. Marquise Aubrey has completely lost interest in me now." Ariana responds, "In that case, it's your turn to help me get rid of the nanny, right?" Isabella picks up something she has already prepared and answers, "Don't worry, I have my ways. I'll make her carry the accusation of being a thief and get her kicked out." Seeing the pen in Isabella's hand, Ariana is startled. It's actually Damien's pen. Isabella continues confidently, "I'll handle it on the day our brother goes out." Ariana is still somewhat uncertain. Can this really get the nanny kicked out? Isabella says helplessly, "But father's things are hard to get." Ariana asks, "Then what about mother's things?" "That would be even more impossible," Isabella answers. Ariana says thoughtfully, "What if she has already stolen mother's things?" Isabella is shocked and raises her voice. "That old hag has such nerve?" Ariana quickly signals her to be quiet, reminding her that walls have ears. Isabella glances warily toward the door, then asks in a lowered voice, "What did she steal?" Ariana answers, "A pair of magical earrings set with dark obsidian." Isabella immediately plans, "I'll search her room, though I don't know if she's already sold them." Hearing her concern, Ariana thinks and says, "She wouldn't dare do that. Once father finds out, she'll be completely finished." After discussing with Isabella, Ariana has just left her room when her arm is rudely grabbed. Who else could it be but Pamela? She smiles sinisterly. "Miss, the Duke wishes to see you." So she follows Pamela and once again steps into father's study. Looking at the familiar furnishings in the study and father standing before her, she feels a wave of dizziness and fear. She never expected to step into this place again. Ariana suddenly recalls everything she suffered here, memories that are still her nightmares. Thinking of this, she trembles uncontrollably, cold sweat pouring down. Duke Dimitri Rosanna says sternly, "Leah, Marquise Aubrey has proposed to you. Have you become so low as to seduce men?" Ariana hurries to explain, "I didn't, father." But before she can finish, Dimitri slams the table and roars, "Then why would he propose to you for no reason?" Ariana flinches at his action but still insists, I only danced one dance with him. Dimitri stares at her and says coldly, "You've changed quite a bit lately, daughter." Pamela immediately stirs up trouble from the side. It seems necessary to discipline the miss more strictly. I agree. Tie her up. With Dimitri's command, Pamela steps forward to restrain Ariana. Ariana struggles in terror, but Pamela simply raises her hand and slaps her hard across the face. Looking at Ariana restrained by Pamela, Dimitri skillfully takes out a whip and says to her, "Today, I'm going to properly correct your bad habit of defying your father." At this moment, outside the study door, Isabella is blocked by servants in front of Dimitri's study. Not understanding why the servants are blocking her just as she's about to force her way in, she suddenly hears the sound of whipping and piercing screams for mercy, freezing in place. Those screams are coming from Ariana. Isabella is frightened by this scene. A servant behind her advises quietly, "The master is disciplining Miss Ariana, you'd better not go in." Isabella thinks, but such screaming, is this really just discipline? She has also experienced father's way of education, been beaten with a cane, but the sounds coming from inside the door are clearly not from a cane. Inside the study, Dimitri's whip continues to fall. Each lash strikes Ariana heavily, and Pamela is gloating as she witnesses all this. At this moment, Ariana, suspended by ropes, has been whipped until her body is covered in wounds. Dimitri watches her in her agony with indifference. He warns sternly, "Will you continue to disregard a lady's dignity and stoop so low as to seduce men?" Outside the door, Isabella hears this and her heart sinks. So she's the one who harmed her sister. She immediately wants to push the door open and plead for Ariana, but she's blocked again. The person is none other than the young Duke of House Rosanna, Damien Rosanna. Isabella recognizes her brother and asks in confusion, "Why can't I go in?" Damien doesn't answer directly, only saying, "This has nothing to do with you, go back to your room." Seeing his unsurprised expression, Isabella realizes, so, this isn't the first time. "And you've known all along." She then condemns angrily, "How can this be? Isn't sister also your close family?" Damien scoffs. "Close family? Ridiculous." He approaches Isabella and says in a low voice, "Then let me tell you, Ariana and I aren't twins, and she's not your sister either." This truth shocks Isabella greatly. Damien continues, "Besides her eyes resembling mine, what else about her is like us?" Isabella still insists. Even so, she shouldn't be treated like this. But Damien remains indifferent, then go in and take the beating for her. Hearing this, Isabella chokes up. Father's cane is already her psychological trauma. Moreover, the situation inside the study is even more brutal. She's truly powerless. Seeing her silence, Damien says, "Since you can't do anything, leave. I don't want you to get hurt either." Then he turns and orders the servants to take Isabella back to her room immediately. After Isabella is taken away, Damien also hears Ariana's pleas for mercy coming from the study, but he only feels annoyed and regards it as noise. He orders no one to approach this corridor, then leaves without looking back. After Dimitri finishes venting his anger, Pamela brings the battered Ariana back to her room. The new maids see the unconscious and severely injured Ariana and feel deeply distressed. Seeing how deep her wounds are, they want to call a doctor to treat her, but Pamela has just placed Ariana on the bed. When she turns around and sternly stops them, "I'll take care of the miss. I'll treat her. All of you get out." Hearing this, the maids leave the room in panic one after another. After they've all left, Pamela closes the door firmly behind them. She mutters, "A bunch of useless fools with no sense. I'll replace you all sooner or later." Now only the two of them remain in the room. Pamela glares viciously at the unconscious Ariana. She mocks, "Blood doesn't lie indeed, miss. You really are lowborn to the core. No wonder Marquise Aubrey can't stop thinking about you." With that, she reaches out to touch Ariana's arm. She deliberately presses hard on the wounds. The intense pain gradually brings Ariana's consciousness back somewhat. Pamela looks at the medicine Dimitri gave her. She has no intention of applying it to Ariana. As she covers Ariana with a blanket, she says coldly, "This is your punishment for ignoring me as your nanny." Then she leaves Ariana alone in the room to fend for herself. After Pamela leaves, Ariana thinks with regret in her pain she had resolved not to be submissive like before. But the moment she saw the whip in father's hand, she became so terrified her whole body went weak and she couldn't think. She could only stand there trembling at their mercy. At this moment she truly understands that not only can she not become the imperial princess of Gacador, she must also escape father's control as soon as possible. Suddenly, a commotion comes from outside Ariana's door. It's Isabella ordering Emily to break down the door. After several impacts, Emily finally breaks the door open. Hearing the noise, Pamela hurries over and rebukes sternly, "Who gave you the nerve to break in like this?" But the visitor is Isabella. She walks quickly toward Pamela and slaps her hard across the face, scolding, "A mere nanny dares to shout at me?" Pamela is knocked to the ground by this sudden slap. She's furious and turns to glare viciously at Isabella. However, Isabella isn't as easy to bully as Ariana. Seeing a servant dare to be so insolent, she raises her hand to slap her again, but midway she suddenly realizes she's being too impulsive. The purpose of this visit is to check on her injured sister. She hurries with the doctor to check Ariana's injuries. The doctor gently lifts the blanket. Ariana's body is a bloody mess. Facing such a horrific sight, the doctor can't help but say, "Not even basic wound treatment was done. How can she be left like this?" Hearing this, Isabella's expression darkens suddenly. She turns to Pamela and demands, "You dare treat my sister like this?" Then she grabs Pamela's hair and scolds, "You wretched old hag, you dare to go sleep without treating my sister." After venting, Isabella still feels unsatisfied and slams her head against the floor. She rages, "If I don't crack your head open today, I'm not a Rosanna." After a few hits, Pamela is knocked unconscious. Isabella glances at her like garbage and orders, "Get some people to beat her again, then throw her out." Then Isabella walks to the bedside and asks the doctor about Ariana's condition. The doctor answers with a grave expression, "The miss is severely injured and will still feel intense pain." Hearing this, Isabella takes out a box of ointment and says, "Emma, use this." Emma takes the ointment and examines it carefully, surprised. "Isn't this erasum?" This ointment both relieves pain and prevents scarring, which is why it's so famous. Isabella looks at that box of erasum ointment and ponders silently for a long time. The next day, Ariana once again awakens from a nightmare brought by Dimitri. She habitually sits up from bed, but the tearing sensation from her wounds makes her lose balance. She falls heavily back down. A maid hurries to steady Ariana and reminds her, "Miss, you're too badly injured. You can't get up yet." Lying down, Ariana carefully assesses her injuries and finds they don't hurt as much as expected, so she asks, "Did you treat me?" The maid answers, "No, it was Dr. Emma." Ariana asks again, "Who called the doctor?" The maid replies respectfully, "It was Miss Isabella." Ariana looks at her and continues asking, "Did you go get her?" The maid nods. Then Ariana asks tentatively, "Wasn't there still a nanny by my side? Why did you think to go find Isabella?" Thinking of Pamela's actions, the maid answers somewhat angrily, "You were so badly injured, but the nanny wouldn't treat you at all, so I had to ask Miss Isabella to come check on you." Hearing this, Ariana understands. She realizes this maid is not only capable, but also one of the few who genuinely cares for her, so she asks her name. The maid helps her sit up while answering, "Miss, my name is Lavender." Then Ariana instructs, "Well then, Lavender, could you please ask Isabella and Damien to come over?" In Ariana's room, Isabella and Damien have been brought over by Lavender. Seeing both of them present, Ariana gets straight to the point. "You're both aware of what happened last night, right? Because of the nanny, I almost lost my life." At the mention of Pamela, Isabella's anger surges. She says excitedly to Damien, "I absolutely cannot tolerate that old hag staying by sister's side any longer." Damien ignores Isabella and instead looks at Ariana, saying, "Ariana, there's no need to cause such a commotion in the household over such a small matter. It's really annoying." Isabella protests indignantly, "How can you speak to sister like that?" Seeing the two arguing endlessly, Ariana holds her forehead helplessly. "Both of you stop talking." Hearing her tone, Damien says with displeasure, "Right now you're asking me for help. Don't use that tone to order me around." Ariana has no intention of arguing with him and rises to negotiate. "Damien, I hope you can help me this once. After all, if word gets out that a servant attempted to harm a lady, it won't be good for House Rosanna's reputation either." Damien replies, "Fine, I'll handle the nanny matter, but I still need to remind you, your marriage has never been yours to decide." Ariana responds, "I've always been aware of that, but Damien won't let it go. But how is it that I hear you've been secretly looking for a groom recently? I hope this punishment helps you remember your place." With that, he leaves without looking back. Watching Damien's departing figure, Ariana thinks, Damien has never regarded her as his sister, always treating her as an outsider. She still remembers when they were young. Damien suddenly came to find her and asked out of the blue, "Ariana, they say we're twins. Do you think we look alike?" At that time, she didn't understand what that question meant. She only remembers Damien looking at her with unusually cold eyes. Now looking back, Ariana suddenly suspects, perhaps Damien knew from the very beginning that she was an illegitimate daughter. That's why his attitude toward her has been so cold and heartless. The next day, Ariana is invited to attend a society tea party. Before departing, she asks, "Why haven't I seen the nanny recently?" Lavender answers truthfully, "Nanny is injured and resting in her room. Apparently she had a dizzy spell and fell down the stairs. And unluckily, the headmaid's belongings also fell on her. Now, Nanny can't get out of bed at all." Hearing this, Ariana understands. It seems the headmaid and Pamela have some old grudges. So she instructs, "In that case, if the nanny is in severe pain, give her some sleeping medicine. She won't feel pain when asleep." At the banquet, Veronica Shalin, who was sent away by Ariana last time, actually approaches her proactively. This truly surprises Ariana. She hears her joke, "I'll behave today, Lady Ariana. Please don't send me away again." Ariana responds with a smile, "I won't. I received your apology letter as well." Suddenly, physical discomfort strikes again. A wave of dizziness surges through her. The reason she came to the tea party despite her illness is because society tea parties are important venues for information exchange. At this time, the topic about her recent changes has gradually subsided. This is entirely thanks to Felint Haward's speech at the Crown Prince's Gentlemen's Club. He believed Ariana's actions during this time were completely reasonable. If others insist on gossiping, how are they different from chattering busybodies on the street? At the tea party, the noble ladies begin discussing other topics. My aunt saw barbarians in Nimbus. Hearing this, Ariana thinks, it seems the Sarai are negotiating with the church. The barbarians they call Sarai are actually nomadic people wandering the continent. They are all strong and bold, natural-born warriors, yet they've always been misunderstood by the world and labeled as barbarians. The noble ladies continue, discussing, now many barbarians are hiding on Britain Island, are beyond Tech territory. Some even say outright that, if Gakador hadn't always claimed Britain Island as theirs, the barbarians wouldn't be so rampant. Then she proposes sending troops to expel them all. Everyone nods in agreement. At this moment, Ariana speaks up to remind them, but Britain Island is the sacred island where the Grand Temple is located. We cannot wage war on that land. A noble lady asks in confusion, oh my, is that really true? Ariana explains seriously, yes. It's a sacred place where elves once lived. If blood is spilled there, it might bring a curse. She continues explaining. All temples across the continent enjoy extraterritorial rights. They are sacred and inviolable places, and managing these temples is a neutral city-state that belongs to no side. The Nimbus Papacy. At this moment, a green-haired lady suggests, then why not just hand this island over to Nimbus for management? Hearing this, Veronica immediately objects, no way! How can we voluntarily give up territory? Watching Veronica Shaylin's passionate reaction, Ariana can't help but feel some admiration. She didn't expect her to be so serious about territorial and war issues, truly worthy of being the child of a northern border count. At this moment, a lady beside Ariana shows no interest in such topics, and asks her as usual if she'd like to get some fresh air in the courtyard and leave here. But this time, Ariana politely declines, because without understanding how far the marriage arrangement with Gakador has progressed, she must participate more in social activities and gather intelligence. This is the only thing she can do right now. After the ladies' tea party ends, Ariana is about to step onto her carriage, but Veronica calls out to her. She runs over breathlessly, and after stopping, hands Ariana an invitation, saying, if you have time, would I have the honor of inviting you to my equestrian gathering? Ariana gladly responds, if I can admire the famous horses of House Shaylin, I'd be delighted to attend. Veronica is overjoyed to hear this and repeatedly says, of course, I very much look forward to your arrival. After saying this, she watches Ariana depart in her carriage. In the carriage, Ariana's heart fills with anticipation, because in her past life, Pamela never allowed her to attend equestrian gatherings. Returning home, Ariana goes straight to Isabella's room, asking her if she found those earrings. But Isabella indicates she's searched everywhere, and perhaps the earrings have truly been sold. Ariana immediately dismisses this theory. If that were true, Father would never let Pamela off. Isabella then says she feels Father doesn't seem to know about the earrings, because she's dropped hints multiple times, but Father showed no reaction. Ariana asks puzzled, but this is Mother's heirloom. How could Father not know about it? Hearing this, Isabella becomes even more confused, saying, but Mother's heirloom is with me. She immediately signals Emily to bring the item. After Emily presents it, Isabella introduces it. This is a magical artifact that neutralizes poison, called Golden Stain. Supposedly, even if someone poisons you, as long as you pour tea into it, you'll be perfectly safe. However, she feels this cup is useless to her. Who would dare poison her? Looking at the true heirloom in Isabella's hands, Ariana thinks, if she had possessed it back then, perhaps she wouldn't have lost her child from being poisoned. At this moment, she finally realizes she's always been an outsider in this family. Though Mother gave her a magical artifact to hide her illegitimate daughter status, she never told her about the true heirloom Golden Stain. Even though she knew she wasn't Mother's biological child, she still deeply loved her. But Mother's treatment of her doesn't seem reciprocal. In the end, she's the only one who gets hurt. At the equestrian gathering a few days later, the noble ladies gather around a horse, marveling at it. They curiously examine the horse, and someone says, is this the legendary Hershey? Let me touch it. As she speaks, she reaches out to touch Hershey's mane. Veronica quickly stops her. Hershey has a bad temper. Getting close rashly might get you kicked. Currently, only the stable manager can calm it down. That person says unconvinced. I believe the Crown Prince can definitely tame it. He's the hero who ended the 3-year war. Veronica responds with a smile. I also look forward to that day. Then she remembers Ariana will arrive late due to another banquet, and unconsciously looks toward the entrance. Right at this moment, Ariana walks in, though her expression appears somewhat serious. However, the weather and scenery that day are quite pleasant. Ariana's mood brightens accordingly. The maid beside her asks with concern, Miss, the wind is rather strong today. Aren't you cold? Ariana answers, it's fine. The wind isn't too cold. After all, she experienced much harsher winds in Linskin. Thinking of this, she falls into a memory. Suddenly, a gust of wind blows away the ribbon from Ariana's hat. Seeing the maid so anxious, Ariana comforts her. It's fine, let it go. Unexpectedly, the ribbon happens to drift into Flint's hands. He walks forward and politely asks, is this yours? Ariana responds equally politely. Ariana of House Rosanna thanks Grand Duke Haward. Then she adds meaningfully, this time, I will also remember your grace's kindness. This confuses Flint, so he asks, why say also? Seeing Ariana's beaming smile, Flint guesses she's referring to how he previously helped quell rumors about her. He walks alongside her and replies, I only did a small thing, you needn't take it to heart. Ariana apologizes with a smile. I'm very sorry for being so clumsy every time I see you. Flint responds, it's fine, I don't mind. His serious answer makes Ariana can't help but smile. Finding this person's seriousness somewhat adorable, she then changes the subject. I've been quite troubled lately by the matter with Marquise Aubrey. Have you heard about it, Your Grace? Flint nods, indicating he's heard about it, then says, finding a gentleman you admire to marry might be a solution. Hearing this, Ariana sighs softly, but my marriage is decided by Father. I'm merely a puppet in his hands. After saying this, she gazes at the man before her, thinking of the future. He will kill her father and even the entire family. Perhaps she can seek his help. So she says, but becoming my husband would also gain support from the House of Rosanna. Flint responds seriously, those who treat their wife as a political bargaining chip are not good matches. Please choose your husband carefully, miss. Ariana follows up, then what about you, Grand Duke? I heard the Crown Prince is selecting a wife for you. Flint answers, Lady Ariana, I've politely declined the Crown Prince's kindness. Ariana then recommends herself, I see. Then has your grace considered making me your wife? Hearing this, Felint's heart wavers slightly. Isn't this what he's been hoping for all along? Ariana continues, if you're willing, why not take the ribbon in your hand? But Felint interrupts her. Miss, I don't wish to bind my marriage to politics. Ariana didn't expect him to refuse. She immediately says, all right, I was presumptuous. Please pretend I never said anything. Felint grips the ribbon in his hand even tighter. But he must do this, because he longs to be with her without barriers. At this moment, Ariana doesn't know his feelings. After instructing her maid, she bids him farewell and heads straight to the riding grounds. At the riding grounds, most nobles attending the gathering have already chosen their favorite horses, and are leisurely riding on horseback, chatting about life. However, on the other side of the grounds, things aren't going smoothly. Crown Prince Helios has just fallen from his horse. Veronica hurries forward to apologize, but Helios clearly doesn't want to accept. Witnessing this scene, Ariana's impression of Helios worsens further, deliberately making things difficult for a lady truly lacks grace. Just as she's thinking this, Hershey suddenly approaches Ariana and affectionately licks her. Others think Hershey is going to hurt her and rush over to protect her. Felint also pauses seeing this, about to step forward, but sees Hershey unusually docile, allowing Ariana to pet it. Everyone around is stunned. Is this really the Hershey they know? Seeing Ariana and Hershey getting along so harmoniously, Veronica is both surprised and delighted, and says to Ariana, this is the first time I've seen Hershey so docile. Even the men in our territory couldn't tame it. Ariana responds with a smile. I believe if it's you, you can definitely become Hershey's master. Veronica is greatly encouraged and says firmly, I will definitely do it. Seeing Hershey treat them so differently, Helios says unconvinced, I want to try again, but Hershey still doesn't give him face. Helios can't even get on the horse's back. Felint in the distance watches Ariana's radiant spirit. His heartbeat involuntarily skips a beat. At this moment, Helios behind him calls him over to ride a few laps before leaving. He has no choice but to suppress his feelings and walk toward Helios. Even after mounting the horse, Felint remains distracted. His gaze can't help but drift toward where Ariana is. She sits there. Her smiling and chatting appearance makes his heart race. After the gathering ends, Veronica escorts Ariana out and says guiltily, Lady Ariana, because of Hershey, you couldn't ride today. I'm truly sorry. Seeing her uneasy expression, Ariana comforts her. It's fine. I don't know how to ride anyway. Then she leans close to Veronica's ear and adds softly, besides, I don't want the Crown Prince to resent me for riding Hershey. Veronica asks in surprise, is he that petty? Ariana explains, because I'm a daughter of House Rosanna, it might be interpreted as a challenge to the royal authority. Only then does Veronica realize, not expecting so many political complications. Thinking of her previous rude behavior toward Ariana, she quickly apologizes. Ariana gently reassures her, it's fine. I've already accepted your apology. You should go see off the Crown Prince now. That would be more proper. Veronica follows the advice. Thank you, Lady Ariana. I'll go see off the Crown Prince right away. After saying this, she turns and hurries away, completely unaware of the tea party invitation Ariana was about to hand her. Watching her hurried departure, Ariana thinks it's better to send it to her by mail, so she turns to leave, but halfway sees someone walking toward her. Thinking of what happened earlier, Ariana wants to pretend she doesn't see and walk away, but Felint blocks her path. Ariana has no choice but to greet him routinely, just wanting to leave quickly, but Felint clearly doesn't intend to let her leave easily. Seeing him still blocking her way, Ariana thinks he's here to cause trouble. She didn't expect Felint is actually here to sincerely apologize. He says sincerely, I apologize for my earlier misunderstanding. I will treasure the token you left me. Ariana asks, I'm curious, why has your attitude changed so drastically? Felint doesn't answer directly, only saying, when the time is right, I will tell you. Then he looks at the invitation in Ariana's hand, offering to deliver it as an apology. Ariana wants to refuse, but seeing Felint's earnest expression, she softens and hands him the invitation. Then Felint asks if she has any other message to convey. She deliberately leans close to his ear and whispers, next time don't call me Lady Ariana, just call me Miss. After hearing this, Felint hastily covers his ear, his face completely red, extremely embarrassed. Ariana smiles genuinely. However, it's getting late. After bidding him farewell, she leaves the riding grounds with her maid. Ariana just steps through the door and senses an unusual atmosphere in the mansion. The servants all look panicked and chaotic. What happened here? Ariana thinks. A maid sees Ariana and hurries forward. Ariana asks her, why is the mansion so noisy? The maid answers, Miss Isabella's jewel, Golden Stain, was stolen. They're about to search all the servants' rooms now. Hearing this, Ariana roughly guesses Isabella's intention. After returning to her room, she thinks carefully Isabella probably couldn't get Mother's item and resorted to this plan. Thinking of this, she asks others, has Mother returned? Learning she hasn't returned yet, Ariana is somewhat troubled. To completely take down the nanny, it's best to have Mother, the lady of the house, present. Unfortunately, the timing isn't right yet, but Isabella has already begun to act. Then the maid Lavender enters the room to report, Miss Ariana, the family knights have arrived. They're now searching the servants' rooms. Hearing this, Ariana realizes the seriousness of the matter. After all, Golden Stain is extremely valuable. Since the show has begun, she must settle this matter quickly while Mother and Damien are away. With that thought, she walks toward the servants' quarters and sees the knights busily searching everywhere. Ariana suggests, Sir Senerel, the nanny's room is closest. Why not start searching from her room? She remembers in her past life when she was the imperial consort of Gacador, Pamela always followed her as father's spy. Even when later discovered by her ex-husband Marcellus, she was the one who saved her. She never expected to ultimately be betrayed by her. She's already been more than generous to Pamela, and now it's time for Pamela to pay the price. So she leads the knights to Pamela's room. Pamela sees such a scene and doesn't know what to do. At this moment, Ariana walks in and says, "Nanny, Isabella's jewel is missing. We need to check your room now." Hearing this, Pamela's expression immediately becomes very unpleasant. She actually orders Ariana, "Miss, make them leave quickly," Ariana says with feigned innocence. "Oh my nanny, I can't make that decision. After all, even you don't listen to me." Only now does Pamela truly feel that Ariana has changed. The young miss she once raised so carefully now seems like a completely different person. Seeing no hope of stopping them, Pamela simply sits down and gives up. After all, she didn't steal anything, and plans to complain to the Duke afterward. However, the knight in her wardrobe finds the missing golden stain. He quickly reports, "A golden cup is found here. Please come and confirm, miss." Isabella hurries forward to check upon hearing this, and confirms it's her golden stain. She pretends to be delighted. "This is what I lost. Thankfully, it's been found." Now caught red-handed, Pamela is detained on the spot by the knights. Sir Senerel opens the box of stolen goods they found. The jewels inside spill onto the floor, including Damien's pen. Seeing so many stolen items, the servants are shocked, not expecting Pamela to be so bold. Isabella steps forward and slaps her across the face, scolding, "You lowly thief. Just because I reprimanded you, you dare to target my jewels?" Pamela frantically points at Mira to defend herself. "She must have framed me. I'm innocent." Mira immediately retorts, "Nanny, your plan backfired, and now you want to frame me? Just admit it honestly." Seeing no one believes her, Pamela urgently seeks help from Ariana. "Miss, you believe me, don't you?" Ariana doesn't respond immediately. She just turns her gaze to the stolen jewels, then says with feigned relief, "Fortunately, my nanny didn't steal my things." Hearing this, Pamela completely breaks down. Ariana's words are tantamount to directly identifying her as the thief. She roars in extreme anger, "Miss, how can you treat me like this? I'm the one who raised you." Isabella on the side can't stand it and scolds, "Taking care of my sister is your duty. Stop pretending you did her a favor. And you actually dared to leave my injured sister alone without caring." Hearing this, people around start whispering, not expecting the nanny to be such a heartless person. Pamela finds herself the target of everyone's anger and screams in breakdown, then holds her head muttering, "Miss Leah can't treat me like this." Suddenly she seems to think of something, and threatens, "You think you can drive me away like this? I'm the one who knows your secret." This completely crosses Ariana's line. Under everyone's shocked gaze, she grabs Pamela by the throat. Isabella didn't expect her usually gentle sister to be so terrifying when ruthless. Pamela is even more shocked. Is this really the Ariana she raised? In Ariana's view, Pamela is the root of all tragedies. If not for her, she wouldn't have ended up despised by everyone and dying with resentment, so her death wouldn't be regrettable. Ariana tightens her grip even more, but Pamela uses all her strength to kick Ariana away, then lies on the ground gasping for breath. Seeing she dared to attack Ariana, the knights immediately step forward to capture her, wanting to tear her apart. At this moment, Ariana also regains some composure, stands up and says, "I will decide Nanny's punishment." Pamela lies on the ground glaring at Ariana, convinced she doesn't dare do anything to her, but hears her coldly order, "Cut off Pamela's right hand." Instantly, the anger on Pamela's face turns to fear. Ariana continues instructing, "Chief Steward, didn't you hear? Execute immediately." The Chief Steward responds at once, "Yes, miss." Suddenly, Pamela screams like a dying fish seeing a savior. "Young Master Damien, save me quickly." Hearing this, Ariana turns her head and discovers Damien standing behind her. Ariana thinks to herself this is bad. Things are starting to get complicated. Pamela struggles and shouts, "Young Master, save me! I didn't steal anything." But Damien ignores her, and just from that pile of jewels, picks up his long-lost pen and says, "I was just wondering where my pen went." Then he says to Ariana, "You're wrong, Ariana. Your things were stolen too." After saying this, he takes the bag in his hand and throws it at Ariana's feet. The erasum ointment from the bag rolls out. Looking at this erasum, Ariana thinks, perhaps father gave this to her. Damien continues, "Ariana, do you think cutting off her right hand is appropriate?" Ariana retorts, "I believe I, as your elder sister, have the right to punish her." Hearing this, Damien's expression suddenly darkens. "Didn't you hear her say she knows our secret?" He turns to Pamela and pronounces punishment. "Cut off Pamela's right hand, then cut out her tongue." Ariana is somewhat surprised, not expecting this to be Damien's plan. Damien stares at Pamela like looking at a dead fish, saying coldly, "Gag her mouth, she's too noisy." Pamela is terrified and keeps saying she knows Ariana's secret. They can't treat her like this. But to Damien, these words are tantamount to challenging his authority. He orders the knights to immediately gag Pamela's mouth and execute right away. So the knight raises the axe. The blade rises and falls. Pamela's right hand is severed in a bloody scene. This bloody scene terrifies all the servants present. With Pamela as a cautionary example, no one will dare act rashly in the future, or they'll meet the same fate. Ariana, standing aside, witnesses all this. Her heart can't help but feel some fear, but she forcibly suppresses it. After all, she's waited too long for this day, and Isabella beside her, as an unmarried young lady, has never seen such a bloody scene. Faints on the spot from fright. The maids help Isabella up and report to Damien, "Miss has fainted. We'll take her back first." Seeing this, Damien feels regretful. He should have let them leave first. How could they endure such a scene? However, Ariana behind him appears much calmer. bummer. She walks toward the unconscious Pamela and disgustedly kicks her remaining left hand with her foot, asking, "Is she still alive?" The chief steward didn't expect Ariana to be so composed and answers somewhat surprised, "Still alive." Hearing this, Ariana says regretfully, "Well, the wicked do live long." Then she instructs Mira to carry Pamela back to her room for treatment and has someone clean up the blood on the floor. After arranging everything, she ignores Damien and leaves directly. The next morning, at Grand Duke Felint Haward's mansion, Felint is in his study, concentrating on official business, while Helios beside him drinks wine and complains about why he refused his matchmaking efforts. Helios still doesn't give up and continues, "Felint, my father values you greatly, and so do I. Without you, I couldn't have this position at all. I truly consider you a friend." Felint, still working, responds seriously, "I know, and you've kept all your promises. I will be loyal to you for life and will never forget your friendship and honor." Hearing Flint's sincere tone, Helios relaxes for now. Then he changes the subject. "My fiancé asked how we became friends. After all, my personality and appearance are so different." Hearing this, Felint thinks, not only are their personalities and appearances different, but their life trajectories are completely different too. Helios has been destined since birth to be the Empire's sole heir, a favored son of heaven. The aging emperor can't wait to hand power over to him, and living up to expectations, Helios indeed possesses the ability and determination required of an heir. Until he arrived in Linskin as the Biontech envoy representative, his originally smooth path to the throne finally encountered obstacles. At this critical moment, Felint from the battlefield, Sea of Fire, rescued him, the only survivor of the envoy group. At that time, Helios wanted to urge Felint to quickly send him back to his country, otherwise Biontech might fall into chaos due to his disappearance. But Felint refused. "Right now the borders are searching for you. Staying in Gakador is actually the safest choice. A war started because of you has already begun." Hearing this, Helios excitedly questions, "Since you knew this, why did you let me come as an envoy?" Who knew Felint was even angrier than him? His expression darkens as he says, "Were you willing to listen to the message brought by me, a hostage, back then?" Helios is immediately speechless and has no choice but to follow Felint to his secret base in Linskin. The subordinates at the base are all hostile toward Helios because the Biontech they represents has long abandoned them. Although everyone strongly advocates handing over Helios, the subordinates remain loyal to Felint, even though they harbor resentment toward Helios. When Felint stated he would help him participate in this war, they still carried out the order, so Helios began discussing with them. A year after his disappearance, Duke Rosanna has already found a new heir. If he returns rashly now, he might meet with misfortune. Therefore, he must return triumphantly with honor. He also promised to give them the glory and status they deserve after success. Thus, a group of mysterious people wearing black masks joined this battle, under Helios and Felint's leadership. These black-clad warriors saved many Biontech civilians during the war. People thus began calling these heroes who descended from the sky Black Knights. Just as the war gradually tilted toward Biontech, Gakador, to reverse the situation, sent the famous warrior Lestier Baltham to the front lines. However, Lestier was beheaded by Felint in one strike. Then Helios lifted this severed head and revealed his true identity before the warriors. The crown prince, who had been missing for years, suddenly appeared holding the enemy's head, and the entire army's morale instantly soared to its peak. Finally, under Helios's command, they won victory and returned gloriously. When they came before Emperor Leopold to receive rewards, Helios truthfully recounted all of Felint's achievements and requested the emperor grant him the honor and status he deserved. Emperor Leopold also greatly valued Felint after hearing this, not only restored his status as Grand Duke of the North, but also bestowed abundant jewels and northern territories. Since then, Felint has lived in seclusion in his northern territory, only occasionally summoned to the capital by the crown prince. Recalling up to this point, Helios beside him asks, "Felint, are you returning to the north again?" Felint answers calmly, "That's my home, isn't it?" Looking at the unmovable Felint, Helios says regretfully, "I didn't expect that with so many ladies in the capital. Not one has captured your heart." At this moment, Adele Avis walks in holding a stack of documents and says, "Please spare the Grand Duke. He still has so many documents to handle. If you must introduce someone, why not introduce me to someone as brave as the Grand Duke?" Then she deliberately ignores Helios and turns to discuss northern affairs with Felint. Seeing this, Helios tactfully leaves. Watching Helios's departing figure, the two finally breathe a sigh of relief. So Adele asks Felint whether he plans to follow the crown prince's suggestion and take a wife. Felint has no interest in this and gives a negative answer. Adele grows anxious about this. Only through marriage can Felint truly reclaim the Grand Duke's seal. Felint counters, "Then who would consider that lady's own wishes?" Adele responds matter-of-factly, since she would enjoy the title of Grand Duchess, she should bear the corresponding risks. Besides, the late Grand Duke instructed us to retrieve the seal before he died. That was a gift bestowed by the former emperor himself. But Felint responds, "You know the crown prince is testing my loyalty, don't you? Do you think the crown prince would easily let go of matters involving my grandfather?" Adele remains insistent. "We must retrieve the Grand Duke's seal." Hearing this, Felint speaks frankly, "To be honest, I don't care about that seal. What meaning does it have, besides being a family heirloom? And the crown prince. At the mention of Helios, Adele scoffs. Do you really believe his promises? His father once promised your grandfather his rightful position, but didn't he break his word in the end? Then she changes the subject and asks, I heard you recently met a noble lady? Hearing this, Felint finally speaks up. Don't scheme against her, seeing him protect a woman for the first time. Adele immediately senses something unusual, and the noble lady they're discussing is currently in the garden at home, admiring jewelry with her mother. Ariana gazes at the brilliant pearls and flatters. Mother has such good taste. Lady Rosanna accepts with a smile. Then she gets to the point. I heard something happened at home while I was away? Ariana answers respectfully. Yes, mother. I was going to ask your advice on how to deal with the nursemaid. Lady Rosanna feigns difficulty. Your siblings all insist on driving her out, especially Damien. I've never seen him so angry. She warmly takes Ariana's hand and says, My kind Leah, I trust you won't agree with them. Go bring Pamela back. But unexpectedly, Ariana refuses. Mother, I won't do that. Lady Rosanna didn't expect this answer. She says excitedly, What's wrong with you? Pamela is your nursemaid. Ariana still holds her ground. I agree with Damien's decision. Besides, haven't you heard what she did to me? Lady Rosanna of course knows. She was just playing dumb earlier. Seeing Ariana call it out directly, she has to abandon the idea of keeping Pamela and says helplessly, Then what should we do? Hearing this, Ariana shows an innocent smile. Mother, you could take her in. Damien and I would both understand. After all, you're kinder than I am. Seeing Ariana completely refuse to take the bait, Lady Rosanna truly has a headache this time. After saying I'll handle, she ends the meeting. Back in her room, Ariana feels fortunate to finally be rid of Pamela, although she couldn't completely eliminate her. After all, Pamela is a servant Lady Rosanna brought from her family, but she's quite satisfied with this outcome. While thinking, Lavender comes over and asks if she wants Milani tea. After getting Ariana's permission, she begins preparing it and praises how fragrant and sweet the tea is. Hearing this, Ariana responds, The person who gave me the tea said the same thing. Then she looks at the tea brought over and says, Go get a silver needle. Lavender does as told and brings the silver needle. Ariana immediately dips the silver needle into the tea and stirs gently. Seeing the silver needle doesn't change color, she thinks self-mockingly. Looks like I'm still useful to her for now, she won't kill me yet. Outside the door, Mira waits to be summoned. After receiving permission, she enters the room and Ariana signals the others to leave. After everyone else leaves, Ariana asks first, Did you find out what I asked you to investigate? Mira answers respectfully, Yes. Then she leans close to Ariana's ear and whispers. After hearing, Ariana says in surprise, You mean Aster? Mira replies, Yes, miss, but they don't accept commissions through letters. We could, before finishing. Ariana interrupts, No need, this is enough. I'll handle the rest. Then she warns, Remember, you only told a curious lady what you know, understand? Mira immediately indicates she won't say anything more. Ariana continues asking, I have another question. Who is the first person to handle the Rosanna family's mail? Mira then brings all the Rosanna family's letters. Explains, Tom is the first person to handle the letters. After that, each servant takes their master's letters back. Hearing this, Ariana thinks, after Isabella canceled her engagement, even though she hadn't officially entered society, she still received many invitations, while she herself received very few. This means besides Pamela, someone else has been secretly tampering with her invitations. After finishing the discussion, she begins organizing the invitations. During the process, she inadvertently sees a letter from Felint. An idea suddenly springs to mind. She plans to use this letter as bait, so she puts it back in its place. After writing her signature, she instructs Mira to bundle it with the other letters. In the quiet of the night, at the Rosanna estate, Ariana has just finished washing up and sits down, then eagerly opens the drawer, takes out the letter Felint wrote to her and reads it with slight nervousness. However, the letter only invites her to attend a banquet he's hosting in the imperial capital. Ariana didn't expect this to be merely an invitation. It's truly beyond her expectations. She thought that given Felint's change in attitude toward her, perhaps she would receive a love letter from him. Why does this man always refuse to play by the rules? Ariana complains silently in her heart. Then she calms down and leans against the desk. Looking at the bright moon outside the window, she thinks, suddenly proposing to him that day was indeed too impulsive, but she doesn't regret it. Since he said he needs time to consider, it means there's still room for negotiation. Therefore, she must do something that will truly move him. In the carriage the next morning, Ariana uses the excuse, I don't trust the clothes Pamela chose. I must personally go to the tailor to select them. Finally gets permission to go out. Then she sees the real destination of this trip and has the servants stop the carriage, saying, Before arriving at the tailor, I need to prepare a gift for a lady. The flower shop owner sees the visitor and warmly greets Ariana. She instructs the maids to wait outside and not follow, then browses the shop with the owner. Just as the owner enthusiastically introduces various flowers, Ariana stops, turns around and states concisely, I want a blue aster. At these words, the owner immediately understands her purpose. Then Ariana continues, If I remember correctly, there's a deep blue star on the sign outside, right? The owner answers respectfully, Yes, you've come to the right place. Please follow me. After receiving confirmation, information, Ariana looks toward the maids and instructs, "Don't let them know what I'm doing." After the owner agrees, she leads her into the inner greenhouse of the flower shop, skillfully pulls a rope in the room. Soon, someone arrives at the sound. The person wears a black cloak, face indistinguishable, only says to Ariana, "Follow me." Among the maids waiting for Ariana in the flower shop, someone finally senses something wrong. Lavender stands up and says, "Now is not the time for tea, we should follow Miss. No one knows what will happen next." Another maid doesn't understand. "Miss isn't alone, it should be fine, right?" Lavender points at the inner door of the flower shop and asks back, "What if there's a man in there?" Hearing this, that maid also realizes the seriousness. However, just as Lavender is about to take her to find Ariana, a handsome man holding flowers walks toward them and says, "Please don't worry, ladies, that young lady is accompanied by our female staff." Seeing this handsome guy, their attention is immediately drawn away. Then he takes Lavender's hand and says, "If you feel bored, how about I weave you a flower crown? I think it would suit you perfectly, Miss Lavender." Hearing this, Lavender immediately accepts his invitation with delight. On the other side, in the inner greenhouse, the cloaked figure has brought Ariana to the destination. Ariana gracefully lifts her skirt and sits down. Looking directly at the cloaked figure, she gets straight to the point. "You're from Gakador?" The cloaked figure is very surprised. "How do you know?" Ariana explains kindly, "I can tell from your behavior. But don't worry, most people can't." The cloaked figure then sharply asks back, "So miss, you mean you're not an ordinary person?" Ariana replies, "Yes, and you're not ordinary either. After all, Aster is a renowned guild." Then she states her request, "I hope you can help me find something." Hearing the praise, the cloaked figure's tone immediately relaxes. "Sure, what do you want to find?" Ariana describes, "I want to find a magical artifact, one that can change hair color just by wearing it on the ear." The cloaked figure listens while recording her description of the magic artifact, then says doubtfully, "I've never heard of a magic artifact that can change hair color." Ariana insists, "But that's truly the only magical item I possess." The cloaked figure teases, "Perhaps you're the legendary magical girl?" Ariana denies this and continues describing its appearance in detail. After some time of communication, the cloaked figure has fully grasped the information about what Ariana seeks. Now they just need to start searching. After finishing the instructions, Ariana entreats, "That item is very important to me. Please find it as soon as possible. Finding things is our specialty. Don't worry," the cloaked figure answers. Then turns back and says seriously, "By the way, the flower language of Blue Aster is faith." After saying this, she opens the door preparing to leave, but Ariana stops her, asking, "What's your name?" The cloaked figure didn't expect this question and hesitates slightly. Ariana thinks she's unwilling to reveal it and tactfully turns to leave. At this moment, the cloaked figure's voice comes from behind. "Miss, my name is Astin." Ariana turns back wanting to ask more, but Astin has already left. Hearing this familiar name, Ariana can't help but feel surprised. So the guild's leader is a woman. In her memories from her past life, Aster was the most influential guild on the entire continent, and guild leader Astin secretly supported the first prince of Gakador's ascension to the throne. Supposedly their relationship was extraordinary. Just as Ariana is lost in thought, someone calls her from behind. She turns at the sound and sees Felint trimming flowers, looking at her with some surprise. She hears him say, "Miss Rosanna, I never thought I'd meet you here." Ariana responds appropriately, "I didn't expect to meet you either, Your Highness." Then she gently lifts her skirt and says to him, "This time I won't perform the formal courtesy as usual." Hearing this, Felint feels delighted. This shows they're gradually becoming familiar. So he answers, "I'm glad you're willing to be so casual." Ariana asks with a smile, "But speaking of which, you recognize me just from my back?" Felint answers sincerely, "Yes, your back is very recognizable, and even if your appearance differs from before, I think I could still recognize you." These words make Ariana's heart skip a beat. She's secretly shocked. Does this guy know that sounds like a confession? But she resists probing deeper and instead asks, "Do you enjoy working with flowers?" Felint answers while trimming, "This was my late mother's hobby. I heard she used to tend the entire garden by herself." Ariana praises generously, "Then your mother must have had great taste." Felint says, "Indeed, her hands were very skilled. Unfortunately, I didn't inherit that talent." Seeing his beloved flowers ruined again by Felint, the flower shop owner feels distressed. Seeing this, Ariana takes the scissors from his hands and personally demonstrates how to trim correctly. Seeing her trim so perfectly, Felint finally confirms it's not the scissors' fault. Then Ariana hands him the rose he just cut, saying, "Such a large rose is rare. You're very fortunate, Your Highness." Felint takes the rose, cherishing it. Ariana says to the flower shop owner, "Please pick 3 flowers and wrap them for me." After finishing, she bids Felint farewell, saying she has another appointment to attend. Watching her about to leave, Felint hurriedly asks, "Did you receive the invitation I sent you?" Ariana turns back and answers, "I'm sorry, I didn't receive it." Felint asks, "I see. Then may I invite you again?" Ariana says with difficulty, "Even so, I cannot attend." Felint asks puzzled, "Do you have some unspeakable difficulty?" Ariana answers, "I cannot receive any letters from men, not even once." At this, Felint finally realizes. Previously, he had heard gentlemen complain more than once that Ariana ignored their letters. It turns out it was Duke Rosanna, who doesn't allow her to receive letters from men. Then he hears Ariana ask firmly, "Your Highness, are you afraid of my father? I want a man who dares to kiss me in front of my father. If you have enough courage, then please take the flower I I gave you back with you. Hearing this, Felint is silent for a long moment, just as Ariana thinks he will refuse again. He speaks up, Miss Ariana, except for His Majesty the Emperor, I fear no one, but this isn't the answer Ariana wants. Then Felint continues, but even His Majesty cannot create obstacles between me and my wife. Hearing this unexpected response, Ariana smiles with shy satisfaction. Felint's cheeks also flush. Heaven knows how much courage those words cost him. After getting the answer she wanted, Ariana bids him farewell and leaves. Watching her back, Felint thinks he finally understands why Adele has such high expectations of her. After Ariana walks away, Felint turns around, looking at Aston, who has returned. Aston says to him, I received a letter from Linskin. The guild's leader asked me to send you his regards. Felint responds politely, thank you. The leader should still be in good health? Aston answers, yes. He's now counting down the days until retirement. After he retires, I will inherit everything from the guild. Felint nods in acknowledgement. Aston then reports, that young lady just now, though she lives in the capital, recognized at a glance that I'm from Gakador. Felint makes no comment, only asking, what did she commission you for? Regarding client privacy, Aston directly refuses to answer. Felint still doesn't give up, not even though we were colleagues. Aston remains unmoved, firmly protecting the client's privacy. While the two are talking, someone rushes in. It's the handsome guy who is weaving flower crowns. He reports, Aston, there's an uninvited guest outside the shop. He says he can't handle it and hurriedly pulls Aston outside. With a bang, the two leave the greenhouse, leaving only Felint standing alone holding flower seeds. Inside Brillanti Tailor Boutique, Ariana arrives on time with her maids. Seeing such beautiful Ariana, everyone in the tailor shop is stunned, all exclaiming she's even more enchanting than the legends say. At this moment, Ariana takes the flowers wrapped at the flower shop and gives them as gifts to the tailors, then says, why is everyone looking at me like this? It makes me a bit embarrassed. The tailors finally snap out of their enchantment. Ariana explains she came to order some dresses and asks everyone not to be too formal. Then she prepares to follow the staff to the very important person reception room. And Adele, who is trying on clothes, also notices Ariana. Isn't this the Miss Rosanna who constantly occupies the Grand Duke's thoughts? She hurries forward. Greeting, Miss Rosanna. Pleased to meet you. I'm Count Adele Evans. Ariana returns the greeting while thinking, isn't this someone close to Felint? And why is her gaze toward me even more intense than the others just now? Then she hears Adele ask very gentlemanly, beautiful lady, may I take some of your time? In the very important person reception room, facing Adele's barrage of compliments, Ariana feels somewhat overwhelmed. She continues effusively, you're truly beautiful and elegant, worthy of someone who spent so much time studying etiquette. Belatedly realizing she may have misspoken, Adele quickly apologizes. Ariana soothes gently, it's fine. My sister said the same thing. I'm just curious who first noticed these details. Adele answers, it was my master. She continues enthusiastically, but you know, this is very rare for him. He almost never talks about others, let alone when it's a woman, but he meant no harm. Hearing this, Ariana also begins to wonder what Felint's mood was when he said this. So she asks, Count Evans, what's your opinion of me? Hearing this, Adele puts down her water glass and says seriously, in my view, your personality and temperament are very different from the rumors. You're not only beautiful, but also soft yet strong, like a rose standing tall in wind and snow. Simply perfect. Getting excited, Adele even stands up and pleads, Miss, please marry our Grand Duke. Ariana is startled by this sudden proposal, while Adele remains immersed in it, praising Felint to the skies, insisting the two of them are a match made in heaven. Ariana snaps back and quickly waves her hand, saying she and Felint have only met a few times. Adele is even more surprised, only a few times? This shows you're his destiny. Seeing Adele about to propose again, Ariana quickly interrupts. Please wait, Count Evans. The Grand Duke and I have no special relationship. Please don't make things difficult for me anymore. Seeing her refuse so clearly, Adele feels extremely regretful, then sits down and says, I understand. It seems you don't have those feelings for the Grand Duke. Thinking her master might grow old alone, she immediately feels sad. Ariana comforts, believe the right person will appear. Don't worry yet, but Adele indicates her master must marry now. Hearing this, Ariana immediately becomes interested, asking, does he have a special reason why he must marry now? Adele answers, yes, he urgently needs to marry soon. Ariana probes, does he need to take a wife to stabilize the northern regime? Adele shakes her head, not at all. Now the northern regime is very stable under my master's governance. Whether or not he has a wife won't affect the overall situation. At this point, she angrily slaps the table. My master has no problems at all. The problem is His Majesty is withholding the Haward family seal. The overly excited Adele realizes she let it slip and hastily covers her mouth, but it's too late. Ariana has already learned the entire truth. Adele tries to calm herself using the method Felint taught her. After composing herself, she looks up to see Ariana calmly sipping tea. So she says, honestly, you and my master are very similar. I can't read either of you at all. You're meant for each other. Hearing this, Ariana responds with a smile. That sounds rather nice. After some time, Ariana sees it's getting late and stands to take her leave. Behind her, Adele still asks unwillingly, Miss, do you really have no interest in my master? Ariana answers with a smile. If I had no interest at all, I wouldn't have talked with you for so long. Hearing this, Adele's eyes immediately light up. At this moment in her eyes, Ariana seems to radiate divine light. She says with a beaming smile, looking forward to seeing you again. The seal Adele just mentioned is extremely important. It was bestowed upon the Haward family by the former emperor, a token symbolizing their ruling position in the north. And also the Haward family family's heirloom passed down through generations. Recalling how Felint channels his longing for his mother through tending flowers, Ariana thinks he must also want to retrieve the seal badly. Perhaps she can start from here. While pondering, someone is already waiting outside the door for summons. The visitor is Lavender. Ariana looks down at her and asks, "You should know why I called you here, Lavender." Lavender catches sight of the letters piled on the floor. She immediately understands. She's been exposed and hastily explains, "I was planning to organize the mail for you." But before she can finish, Ariana directly splashes tea in her face, saying coldly, "You think I don't know? I also know you're only pretending to care for me. If I kissed a man now, you'd immediately report to my father, wouldn't you?" Lavender knows further excuses are useless. She quickly kowtows and begs for mercy. She confesses she was coerced by the Duke and would lose her life if she didn't comply. Ariana replies, "Yes, of course you fear my father. I understand. But Lavender, you're really an inflexible girl. Since you fear my father, shouldn't you naturally fear his daughter too?" She stands and walks toward Lavender. "Do you think I won't kill you?" Lavender is frightened to tears and pleads, "Miss, I'll never dare again. Can you give me one more chance?" Ariana pulls a rope, staring at her, saying, "I firmly believe a leopard can't change its spots," then pulls the rope. Someone immediately enters and restrains Lavender. Ariana looks at her coldly. "Accept your punishment properly. I suggest you don't tell my father. With his temper, he'll definitely kill you." After saying this, she leaves the scene without looking back. Inside the Rosanna estate at night, someone uses the cover of night to climb through the window into Ariana's room. The visitor is Aston. She removes her mask and says, "You don't look surprised at all." Ariana replies, "I'm just curious. How did you get past the Rosanna family guards?" Aston waves her hand. "Easy peasy." Ariana asks her purpose. Aston says she's found the earring she described and came specifically to confirm if it's what she's looking for, then hands over the item. She continues introducing the earring's origin, while Ariana just silently examines the earring, feeling something strange. Its appearance and magic power are not what they used to be, but she can confirm this is her earring. Aston points at the earring and says, "But this is indeed a magic artifact." Then she takes the earring, removes the sapphire from it, and holds it in her palm. The gem miraculously emits dazzling light. Looking at the glowing gem, Aston sighs that the mages in the guild would give everything to obtain it. Because this magic artifact has no magic itself, the mages really want to disassemble and study it. Hearing this, Ariana says, perhaps finding the other earring would work, but it should have gone to Kessev. Hearing about this legendary magic tower island, Aston says with distress, "I hope you're not right." After finishing with the earring matter, Aston remembers she has another item to give Ariana on this trip, and hands it to her. Looking at the hairpin in her hand, Ariana asks, "What's this hairpin for?" Aston answers, "If going to the flower shop is inconvenient, give it to a servant named Bill. Then someone will contact you." After finishing the instructions, Aston leaves, and Ariana discovers this hairpin is actually a sharp needle. At the morning court of the Biontech Empire, when the Emperor learns that Gakador will send envoys, he flies into a rage and immediately orders Felint to go kill the envoys. The ministers hurriedly intervene, saying that a prince of Gakador is also among the envoy delegation, and they should be treated with courtesy. Hearing this, the Emperor becomes even more furious. After all, his own son once suffered greatly at their hands. Seeing that the ministers' pleas are ineffective, Helios stands up, pointing at the ministers. He pretends to be indignant, and says, "You traitors! How dare you repeatedly plead for the Gakador envoys?" Then he requests permission from the Emperor. "Your Majesty, please allow me to go execute them all." Seeing the Emperor's attitude softening, Helios looks at the ministers sitting upright and continues to feign great anger. He rebukes them. "If anyone here dares to obstruct me, don't blame me for showing no mercy." Hearing this, the Emperor can no longer hold back and says, "As the Crown Prince, stop talking about fighting and killing all day. Let those envoys come." Then he instructs Felint, "Gakador is our sworn enemy. We still don't know their intentions, so the Grand Duke must prepare early." Felint immediately accepts the order respectfully. After the morning court ends, Helios finds Felint and apologizes. "I'm sorry, I've dragged you into war again." Felint replies, "This is His Majesty's command. It has nothing to do with you." After speaking, he leaves the palace. Returning to the Grand Duke's mansion, Felint changes into casual clothes and sits alone in his study, sighing. He doesn't fear war and has even grown accustomed to such situations. He just doesn't know how much longer he can live if things continue this way. Thinking of this, he bends over his desk again and picks up his pen to write a letter. On the other side, at Countess Fleming's embroidery circle, the Countess praises Ariana's embroidery skills lavishly. Ariana responds modestly, "Compared to the patterns you design, I still have a long way to go." Then she quietly listens to the noblewomen exchanging information. They gossip that Felint is holding this banquet to select a wife. Hearing this, Ariana recalls that Helios actually invited her on Felint's behalf to attend that banquet for selecting his bride. This completely contradicts his previous words and actions. Clearly, he's still testing whether she's suitable to become his bride. Ariana suppresses her anger and resolves to make him understand that she is the most suitable choice. Meanwhile, the completely oblivious Felint is busy receiving Aston, who has come from Linskin. Felint asks as they walk, "Has the item been delivered to her? Aston answers. That young lady read the letter immediately upon receiving it. Felint asks urgently, so what did she say? Aston recalls the night of their last meeting. After Ariana finished reading the letter, she simply told her calmly that Felint mentioned in the letter he would be leaving the capital for a while. This puzzled Ariana. Why go out of his way to tell her this? Hearing Aston's account, Felint can't hide his disappointment, that's all. After receiving a positive answer, disappointment clearly flashes across Felint's face. Seeing him dejected, Aston suggests he give the earring he found to Ariana as a gift, but Felint refuses. I can't do that. Since she commissioned the guild, it means she doesn't want others to know about this. Aston teases, so you did peek at the contract and learned about the commission requirements. Caught red-handed, Felint hastily apologizes for his improper behavior. Looking at Felint like this, Aston thinks to herself, it seems he has indeed fallen for this client, but apparently he doesn't yet know how to win a lady's heart. Across from her, Felint still looks at her with eager eyes, asking again if Ariana really didn't say anything else. However, Aston's answer remains the same, so she is immediately asked to leave the study by Felint. Outside the door, Aston finally can't help but laugh out loud. She has never seen Felint show such an expression. In the study, Felint anxiously wonders, why would Ariana refuse his invitation? Could it be that she's worried he'll die in war and therefore doesn't want to marry him? But he's so strong. He absolutely won't let his wife become a widow. He struggles internally like this, staring at Ariana's hair ornament, completely anxious. At this moment, there's a knock at the door. It's Adele requesting to see him. He has to temporarily look away from the hair ornament and go to the reception room to see her. However, when he enters the reception room, he sees Ariana, whom he has been thinking about day and night, sitting beside Adele. Ariana greets him elegantly, and only then does he believe he's not in a dream. 3 hours earlier, Ariana was still at home being carefully dressed by her maid Jane. Jane is extremely excited about her upcoming meeting with Grand Duke Felint Haward. Although Ariana explains she's only going to see him for practical reasons, Jane still gives it her all, determined to make Ariana stunningly beautiful. After carefully finishing the makeup, Jane looks at the earrings Ariana is wearing. She asks, is the other earring a custom replica you ordered? Now that I think about it, it's amazing that they can change hair color. Hearing this, Ariana replies, yes, it really is amazing. But she wonders to herself, since her father and the Duchess don't seem to know about these earrings' existence, where did they come from? The time returns to the present. Adele and Jane are pressed against the door of the reception room, wanting to hear if the two inside will talk about marriage. However, the two inside are childishly arguing about who should make the tea. Finally, Felint wins, and he contentedly makes tea for Ariana. Then he says, since I didn't receive a reply, I thought you wouldn't come to see me. Hearing this, Ariana says with a hint of reproach, I just wanted you to know that I'm somewhat hurt. A certain someone actually invited me to attend a banquet to select his bride. The completely unaware Felint is shocked to hear this. Seeing his reaction, Ariana thinks it's just as she suspected. Felint didn't know about it. Thinking carefully, he would never do such a thing. So she stands up and looks at him, saying, Your Highness, do you know? Withered flowers don't grieve their fading, because they know that one day they will bear fruit and return here again. So Your Highness, please leave without worry. I will wait here. I believe you will surely return. Hearing the two finally express their feelings, the two outside embrace and cry with emotion. Inside the room, Felint has finished making the tea and sits across from Ariana, drinking tea together. Halfway through, Ariana tastes that Felint didn't discard the first rinse when making the tea, but still politely says, the tea tastes very good. After all, this Grand Duke seems to be making tea by hand for the first time, so she should encourage him. So she continues to quietly savor it. Time passes in a flash to the day of Isabella's formal debut in society. Many distinguished nobles are invited to attend. Today's guest of honor stands side by side with Ariana. These two sisters of House Rosanna stand together, looking especially radiant. The noble ladies flatter the Duchess, envying her for having two such beautiful daughters, and the sisters appear to have a close relationship. Isabella acts coy with Ariana. I feel so awkward. Everyone's staring at me. Can you take me to a corner for a bit? Ariana gently comforts her. As a daughter of House Rosanna, being the center of attention is normal. If you're not used to it yet, I'll stay with you. Before she finishes speaking, a gentleman already comes to invite Isabella to dance. She glances at him and directly turns away in refusal. Then she notices that Damien is also present, so she bids farewell to Ariana, saying she wants to find him. After Isabella leaves, other noble ladies come to chat with Ariana. Sophie, who approaches, says to her, it's rare to see you leave the temple to attend social events. From her, Ariana learns that the envoy delegation from Gakador will soon arrive in Biontech. Hearing this, Ariana freezes completely. She doesn't hear anything else the others say until they call her name several times. Only then does she suddenly snap back to reality. After barely calming herself, she continues conversing with them, but her mind is already elsewhere. In Ariana's memories from her past life, Gakador once joined forces with Biontech in the First Holy War. The commanders were Grand Duke Felint Haward and Prince Waldemar of Gakador. They ultimately achieved victory, and the previous Grand Duke's remains became a symbol of peace between the two nations. And the leader of this Gakador envoy delegation is none other than Waldemar. Thinking of this, Ariana is so shocked she can barely hold her wineglass. She never imagined that the war Felint is about to go to is the Holy War of Markia. Looking at the shattered wineglass at Ariana's feet, Sophie and the others ask with concern, you look pale, are you all right? But the situation is urgent. So after hastily bidding them farewell, Ariana lifts her skirt and runs out of the ballroom. Only now does she understand that Felint's departure from the capital isn't to return north, but for the Holy War. But she clearly remembers that the Holy War was supposed to happen much further in the future. An ominous premonition wells up, and Ariana quickens her pace again. Outside the ballroom, Jane and the coachman have already prepared the carriage and are waiting. After Ariana instructs them to go to the temple, she immediately boards the carriage. Inside the carriage, Ariana thinks rapidly. In her memories from her past life, the two nations quickly began peace negotiations after the Holy War. To change her tragic fate, she must act quickly. Time passes, and finally comes the first day of Grand Duke Haward's banquet. Felint appears dressed in formal attire. Many noble ladies, seeing him appear, come forward to greet him. After Felint politely responds to each one, he makes excuses to leave and keeps searching the crowd for Ariana's figure. Then, Duke Dmitri Rosanna approaches to greet him and introduces his children. Felint nods in acknowledgement but notices that Ariana isn't with them. So he asks Damien, "Where is the eldest daughter of your house?" But Damien replies coldly, "Ariana is ill and cannot come. I'm afraid she won't be able to attend your orchestra gathering either." After speaking, Damien bids farewell and leaves. Therefore, by the second day of the banquet, Felint simply hides alone in his study, unwilling to show his face. The third day is the same. The ladies, unable to see the host for days, finally can't contain themselves, and collectively go to Helios to complain. Listening to their endless complaints, Helios is extremely vexed, and immediately decides to go find Felint and get to the bottom of this. So he pushes open Felint's study door. Seeing him leisurely reading letters, he becomes instantly furious, and immediately questions why he broke his promise. But unexpectedly, Felint grabs his hand and says, "Your timing is perfect, Your Highness." This reaction stuns Helios. Felint continues with a serious expression, "There's something I'd like to request of you." He recalls the night of the banquet's second day. Ariana and Jane, under cover of darkness, based on information Aston previously revealed about Rosanna Manor, having a secret passage, quietly slip out of the manor. With Aston's assistance, they take a carriage and secretly arrive at his mansion. He is initially shocked, thinking he's dreaming again, until Ariana removes her black cloak and says with a smile, "I came to watch the stars with you, Your Highness." Only then does he snap out of his disbelief and frantically tidies the study to make room for her. Looking at Ariana before him, he hurriedly asks about her illness. Learning that she has recovered considerably, he finally feels relieved. Then Ariana invites him to watch the stars together. Pleasantly surprised, he follows her to the terrace, watching her admire the beautiful starry sky and beckon him forward. His heart once again races, wildly beyond his control. He also realizes that in this life, besides her, he will never love another person so deeply, but she is as dazzling as the stars, unreachable. Just as he's secretly feeling melancholic, the star in his heart reaches out to wrap her arms around his neck and kisses him like a blessing, and thus, he becomes deeply immersed, unable to extricate himself. After the kiss ends, Ariana even removes her outer garment, revealing the alluring nightgown underneath. She invites him, "Would you be intimate with me, Your Highness?" Felint is extremely surprised. How could he refuse Ariana's request? The two embrace and move to the bed, gazing at Ariana beneath him. Felint finally forces himself to calm down. How can he casually defile such a beautiful star? He suppresses his desire and sits up, telling himself he cannot act impulsively like a beast. He tells Ariana that he cannot possess her when their feelings for each other are unclear, and he knows that Ariana doesn't love him. Ariana remains silent for a moment, then climbs onto his shoulders and says, "I love you, Your Highness. Can we continue now?" Looking at her lips about to descend, Felint, still gently, moves her hands away and gets up to leave the bed. Because he understands that Ariana's words just now weren't sincere, he cannot pretend not to know and go along with it. This isn't how an admirer should treat a star. But unexpectedly, Ariana tells him in desperation that if they don't do this, she will be sold off to Gakador. Hearing this, Felint asks somewhat frantically what she means. Ariana can't help but shed tears, saying she's about to be married off to Gakador as a bargaining chip for peace between the two nations. Seeing her like this, Felint's heart aches. Ariana cries even harder. She truly doesn't know what to do now. Felint sits down by the bed and seriously asks, if she marries him, will she not be forced to go to Gakador? Then he analyzes that if she marries him now, she will inevitably be drawn into political strife. Ariana indicates she can handle it. Hearing her answer, Felint immediately says, "Then let's get married." Ariana is very surprised. She didn't expect to actually succeed. Felint also tells her, "Your body is very precious. Please take good care of it." Seeing him care for her so much, Ariana cries even harder. At this moment, her strap accidentally slips down. Seeing this, Felint hastily turns away bashfully and hands her his coat. Seeing him so shy, Ariana teases, "Your Highness, you'll have to get used to this. After all, in the future we'll still..." Realizing what she's about to say, Felint's cheeks turn even redder, and he hurriedly interrupts her. He's simply too innocent. Looking at him like this, Ariana finally laughs sincerely. After the two tidy their clothes, Felint prepares to write a marriage proposal letter, planning to submit it tomorrow. Seeing this, Ariana takes out the marriage document she had prepared and hands it to him, telling him to fill it out directly. Felint takes it and looks, and discovers it's an official marriage contract from the temple. He can't help but admire how thoroughly she thought this through. On the carriage ride back, Aston tells her that Damien has also entered that secret secret passage. Perhaps he has already noticed her whereabouts tonight. Hearing this, Ariana says she understands and will prepare herself mentally. The next day at Rosanna Manor, Jane rushes over to tell Ariana that the Duke is looking for her. Jane is so anxious that tears stream down. She can't bear to see her lady beaten all over and dragged out of her room like last time. Hearing this, Ariana immediately comforts her, saying she'll be fine. Then she puts down her teacup and asks Jane to run an errand for her. After Jane leaves the room, she runs frantically down the corridor, clutching the hairpin Ariana entrusted to her. She must deliver it to Bill as quickly as possible. She needs to notify Aston to take her lady away from here as soon as possible. Outside Dimitri's study, Ariana takes a deep breath and pushes the door open. Just as she thinks she's about to face a storm, she unexpectedly hears her father's warm greeting. Ariana is very surprised, but it seems her father doesn't yet know about her whereabouts last night. Then Dimitri enthusiastically invites her to go to the palace together. The reason for his change in attitude is that when the emperor summoned him, he mentioned that Gacador requested a marriage alliance with a daughter of House Rosanna and promised that if he agreed, the Rosanna family's gem mines would be returned. For Dimitri, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He immediately sets his sights on Ariana and informs her that she will be married. Ariana didn't expect the timeline in this life to be advanced by so much. If she goes to the palace now, it will be difficult for Aston to assist her. So she resolutely refuses Dimitri's proposal. Dimitri didn't expect Ariana would dare defy him. His expression instantly darkens as he threatens, "Say that again? You've grown bold enough to resist me now?" Seeing Dimitri about to explode, Ariana forces herself to stay calm and says, "Just this once. If you still consider me your daughter, please grant me this wish." Hearing this, Dimitri acts as if he's heard a huge joke and continues to threaten, "Leah, if you don't go, I'll make you regret it." Ariana simply throws caution to the wind and confesses directly, "But I've already pledged myself to Grand Duke Felint Haward, and I no longer meet the requirements of an unmarried lady." At this moment on the other side, Jane runs all the way to Flint's mansion but is stopped by guards. Fortunately, her loud cries for help draw Flint's attention. Upon seeing him, Jane immediately shouts, "Your Highness, please save my lady. The Duke is about to beat her to death." These words strike like a thunderbolt, making Flint's entire body tremble. Jane continues crying, "My lady is truly in mortal danger." Flint urgently asks for details. After learning everything, he immediately mounts his horse and whips it into action, galloping away, his entire heart suspended in midair. Fearing that if he arrives even a moment late, Ariana will meet with disaster. Outside Rosanna Manor, Adele is holding her sword, trying to force her way in. Because Ariana's situation is critical, Dimitri is once again subjecting her to torture. Blood is already splattered throughout the study. Ariana is quickly beaten into unconsciousness, but Dimitri still doesn't stop and orders someone to throw a basin of cold water on her, forcibly shocking her awake. Seeing her struggling to prop herself up, Dimitri raises his whip to beat her nearly to death again. At this moment, Isabella rushes in crying and shields Ariana with her body, begging Dimitri to spare her sister, saying she'll die if he continues beating her. But Dimitri is furious and roars at Isabella to get out. Isabella is stunned by her father's roar, unable to believe he would treat her this way. But for Ariana's sake, she still resists. How can you call yourself her father when you treat her like this? Dimitri didn't expect Isabella would dare talk back to him and becomes instantly enraged, just as Isabella thinks she'll also suffer his violence. Her maid Emily rushes forward and quickly takes her away from the scene. If they stay any longer, Isabella might suffer too. At this moment, because of Isabella's resistance, Dimitri looks at Ariana even more viciously, raising his whip to strike again, as if to vent all his rage on her. At the critical moment, a flying blade accurately pierces Dimitri's hand holding the whip. The arrivals are none other than Flint and Adele. Seeing Ariana's miserable state, Flint wishes he could tear Dimitri to pieces on the spot. He strides forward quickly, gently lifts up the barely breathing Ariana, and says furiously, "Duke Rosanna, you will pay dearly for what you've done." Dimitri is intimidated by Flint's presence and finally feels fear. He hastily orders the steward to summon knights for protection. However, at this moment, Duke Rosanna's knights have already been defeated by the forces led by Aston, completely wiped out, with no one able to escape and come to his aid. Now Dimitri is like a lamb to the slaughter, and must face Flint's towering rage alone. Flint swiftly swings his sword, pointing it directly at Dimitri's throat. Just as he's about to pierce his throat, Ariana, with her last ounce of strength, stops him. If he really kills him, the aftermath will be difficult to handle. Hearing this, Flint struggles to calm himself and withdraws his knight's sword. He picks up Ariana and turns to leave this filthy study, but behind him, Dimitri still provokes unwillingly, "If you dare take her away, I'll..." Before he finishes speaking, Flint, in uncontrollable fury, swings his sword in a slash. Dimitri's hair falls off, and a long bloody gash appears on his face. Intense pain strikes, and Dimitri screams incessantly. Flint sheaths his sword and warns, "If you dare touch a single hair on my wife's head, next time I will definitely kill you with my own hands." At this moment, Aston has dealt with the knights and comes to join them, saying, "I've already paved the way for you. Don't worry." Just as everyone is about to leave, Damien blocks their path, claiming that Ariana is an illegitimate daughter who can't see the light of day and isn't worth all this commotion. But Flint doesn't care and points out this is absolutely no reason to abuse her. Damien adds that Ariana is still a member of the Rosanna family and cannot be taken away casually. Flint responds word by word that Ariana is already the Duchess Duchess of Haward, and if he knows what's good for him, he should step aside immediately. Damien, helpless, takes out the erasum ointment he had prepared from his pocket and hands it over, saying, I hope you can bear the consequences of doing this, otherwise it will only bring her another kind of harm. Felint walks around him directly and says coldly, this is not your concern. From this moment on, my wife has no more connection to House Rosanna. After speaking, he leaves carrying Ariana. The next day, a debate erupts within Grand Duke Felint's mansion. Learning that Ariana is here, everyone urges Felint to marry her quickly, to solve the urgent matter of retrieving the seal. Just as they wish the two could marry immediately, someone interrupts. Duke Rosanna won't be willing to marry his daughter to the Grand Duke. Everyone becomes worried again, heatedly discussing how to get the Duke to agree. At this moment, Felint stands up and says, Ariana is already my wife. There's no need for Duke Rosanna's consent, and please watch your words and actions so as not to offend her. After speaking, he prepares to leave the study. The adjutant watches his departing figure with burning anxiety. If he's left here alone, he'll surely be drowned by everyone's questions. Sure enough, as soon as Felint leaves, everyone snaps out of their shock. They surround the adjutant, repeatedly asking what the Grand Duke's words just now meant. Fortunately, Adele appears in time to rescue him, saying loudly, everyone please be quiet. The Duchess needs rest. As soon as these words are spoken, everyone is shocked. It seems what the Grand Duke said is true. At this moment, Felint has already arrived outside Ariana's room, and after taking a deep breath to prepare himself, he gently knocks on the door. Maid Jane opens the door in response, saying with a worried expression, Your Highness, Felint replies, I heard she woke up, so I came to see her. Hearing this, Jane answers somewhat guiltily, But my lady has fallen asleep, Your Highness. Felint remains silent for a moment, and asks, Did I do something wrong that makes her unwilling to see me? Jane didn't expect her lie to be exposed on the spot and hastily apologizes. In the room, Ariana hears Felint's words and moves guiltily. Felint steps past Jane and says gently to Ariana wrapped in the blanket, Ariana, can I see you? I have something I want to tell you. Ariana, burying herself in the blanket, still doesn't make a sound. So Felint says, if you're tired, I'll come back later. At this moment, Ariana finally speaks, You must be very disappointed, right? I'm just an illegitimate daughter, not as noble as you imagined. Hearing this, Felint walks past Jane into the room and comes to her bedside. He gazes at her tenderly and says, Then you must have had a hard time before, right? From now on, I'll be with you. Ariana under the blanket is extremely shocked by these words. No one has ever asked if she was tired. The tears she's been holding back for so long burst forth again in front of him. Like a bird that has been suspended in the air for so long, finally returning to earth, Ariana's heart has finally found its home.